dearest friends. We've known each other for 35 years. Um, she's an extraordinary woman who has been such a wonderful contributor to our local community and our global family. This is Lori Grace. She's a mother, she's an environmental activist, she's an election reform activist, and welcome, Lori. Thank you for coming onto the show tonight.
My pleasure.
So, Lori, I'm gonna show a few pictures that I pulled, and I'm going right into these two photos right here. And I wanted to start with, because I know you personally, just how important both nature is to you and being a mother is to you. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that, please.
Well, I do love nature. I do love hiking. That was a hike that I took in New England. And I really care about the earth and feel a deep sense of connection with what could be called Mother Earth. And I'm also profoundly aware that we are going through a decline as a planet due to climate change. And so I feel a deep sense of concern. I trained with Al Gore. I empathize with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, about that younger generation that really wants a future. And so I remain an environmentalist, and that's why I helped start Marine Clean Energy, who has now become MCE and the first green utility in the nation that is now spread across the Bay Area.
And Lori, as a mother, how because you are tireless in the work that you do. You work so hard. I've stayed in your home recently. I've watched you, and I've known you for all these years. To what degree as a mother, is that an inspiration for you? As you think about Christopher and next generations, talk about how that inspires you.
Well, I've helped raise a number of other children besides Christopher, and I love my son very much as well. And I want to see them have a real future and thrive. And I'm very concerned.
Yeah. And so, what are some of the actions that you're personally taking currently? And then we're going to go back into history a little bit and talk about, election integrity work in the past, clean energy work in the past. But tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now in present time. And we are able to hear, by the way, a lot of the sounds going on in the background. Um,
Okay, do you want to say what you wanted to say again?
yeah, and that's that microphone is much better for sure.
Oh, very good.
Okay. Yeah, so before we kind of go back to your history a little bit, what are you currently most focused on? What is most important to you at this time in your life?
Well, right now, because I really care about our planet and I care about the United States, I'm really wanting to have an election that isn't stolen, that isn't rigged, that is a true expression of American people. And I'm concerned about in our upcoming election, about votes being manipulated electronically. And I'm also very concerned that President Trump, is already referring to our having a rigged election in November, to which he will not concede if he loses.
But that's really, really scary, especially for
I agree.
people. Yeah. So what can we do? What are the most important actions that we can do?
Well, I mean, I recommend first and foremost participating, perhaps even contributing to trustvote.org or trustvote2020.org. Those are both nonprofits that I'm on the board of, and they support us having an honest election,
So
which would
I'm
be wonderful.
so I'm putting that up on the screen right now, the trustvote2020.org. And tell us, what does Trust Vote 2020 actually do? How do they operate, and how is supporting them helping us to have more election integrity?
Well, right now, not only have we played a role in educating people about the hacking that is going on, not only from Russians, Chinese, Israelis, but also from our own vendors at times in our electronic voting machine companies.
Well,
And this, of course, is very suppressed information.
s-
So, so we teach about that. Then we teach about a solution. And actually, because of some systems that I originally supported through trustvote.org, which was called the Trachenberg system, now the main electronic companies have made ballot images of each vote. The only trouble is that these ballot images are destroyed by some registrars, particularly in swing states. Not
wow,
all, but some. And
wow.
so that's one of the problems. Now, also, because there's kind of a war going on between Republicans and Democrats, when the Democrats are pushing vote by mail, the Republicans have been designing blocks and pitfalls and traps to voting by mail. So we are also educating people state by state how to avoid these traps. And that is on trustvote.org.
Mhm.
So we may have more paper ballots, especially due to COVID-19. Hopefully, we may have less online rigging, but we have, in some cases, vote by mail ballots, although Trump and McConnell are actively opposing this. But we will do the best we can in educating people if they are lucky enough to get a mail in ballot, how to vote with it, whatever state they may be in. And we're emphasizing swing states.
And so when people support Trust Vote, and I know that we just our Saturday Night Live, the Global Peace Tribe, donated $1,000 to Trust Vote.
Wow.
Um, yeah, where does that money go? Like you said, educating people about how hacking happens, and then helping to change that. Tell us more so that we can hopefully get more people contributing.
Well, we're going to be showing the film Kill Chain, which actually goes into the hacking that has been occurred, even has interviews with people who've been stopping, for instance, Russian hacking. It's presented with, a face that has been obscured or even a voice, but it all was filmed in Eastern Europe. So that's one thing. And if we have paper ballots, it's much harder to hack. In 2016, we saw in a number of swing states modems on tabulators where votes could be changed electronically. And the reason that electronic voting machine companies said that they put the modems in was so that they could collect the votes from rural counties without, uh, just effectively, but at the same time, somebody from the same state or even another one could interfere with it, much like when you call on your cell phone, you can call another state. You can interfere. So that's why mail in ballots are very important, not just because of what the Democrats say, which is we'll get more people to vote and avoid voter suppression, which may help in some degrees, but also because electronically a mail in ballot cannot be destroyed, like it is when you're using a regular electronic voting machine.
Lori, I've
Well,
pulled up a
I
pair of.
can keep talking.
No, I'm pulling up a pair of pictures, which I just want to show people. Um, and are you able to see the picture of you with Al Gore? In
Yes.
fact, I took that photograph. I remember
Oh,
snapping the
great.
camera. And then, of course, to the left, you're receiving an award from Marin Clean Energy. Please tell us a little bit about your work with Al Gore, and then we'll go to the Election Integrity Award.
So the work with Al Gore was studying a lot about climate change, going back to updated sessions, which were really fantastic, and teaching PowerPoints of his slideshow, and then explaining what was really going on.
And
So
you were
that
one of
was
the
very useful.
very first people to see the slideshow. You saw the slideshow before it was even turned into a movie.
That's correct. And I couldn't stop crying while I saw it because a woman sitting next to me who had been living in Alaska kept on telling me that it was true, that the tundra, the snow on the tundra was melting, that uh, shorelines were caving in, that houses were falling into the ocean because of the melting of the ice, and also that the polar bears were greatly at risk. This was as far back as 2006.
So you've been
So,
aware of this. You first saw the slideshow in 2006. You went to Nashville in 2009. I went with you that year. And you went back to Nashville every year for quite a while,
yes,
getting all the updates. So, as somebody who's been aware of this for 14 years, and then seeing things going in the worst possible direction with somebody as Trump elected, we thought it was bad with Bush. Now, we think about those were the good old days compared to Trump. How is that for you? Is that discouraging or even more inspiring? How do you manage that?
well, with Trump having gutted the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act and other things like that, of course I'm deeply concerned. And I make a choice myself uh, to try to promote Trump not getting reelected. I'm also very concerned about what would happen if he was choosing more of the judiciary, as Ruth Bader Ginsburg may not last another 4 years.
Yeah.
And so I feel concerned.
And so when people are feeling hopeless, and feeling like, oh my God, it's just, we're past the tipping point. What would you say to people like that?
Well, it depends if we're concerned about climate change. There are certain groups like 350.org and the Sunshine Alliance and some other groups that create meetings that get together. Of course, nobody's been doing that with COVID-19, but uh, the the opportunity to one, I mean, it can take many different forms. Reducing, for example, meat consumption, eating more plant proteins, driving an electric car or driving a hybrid, uh, or bicycling more if at all possible, walking more. Those are a few little small things. Even using a reusable cloth bag, which has been not allowed right now with COVID-19, but going back to seeking to have less plastic in our lives because it's all from petroleum, and also being concerned about our ocean. One of the things we're doing at Haleakua, my farm, is we're creating the first organically raised farmed fish, tilapia, a more or less tropical fish. And we're feeding it with superfoods of moringa leaves, black soldier fly larvae, and also spirulina. And so we're creating a fish that will be extraordinarily healthy and will support hopefully more fish remaining in the ocean because we're losing a great deal of fish. The waters are heating up, the coral is dying, and there's been a lot of overfishing. So this is another way that I'm doing something. And I'm saying it's very important, in my view, to vote with our dollars, to vote organic or eat organically. I believe that's really a political statement.
It is a political statement, and having been to your farm in Hawaii a few times, it's really beautiful how you're walking the talk. I know you drive electric cars. I have a hybrid now,
Mm,
but
great.
you've been driving hybrids and electric cars. You were among the first people I knew to actually get one. And at Haleakua Garden Farm, your place in Maui, you have created a very incredible ecosystem, and it's a wonderful model for other people. And
And we're
thank you for that.
also a retreat center, and we're growing more and more of our food organically to
Tell us
feed
about,
people who come to our retreat center.
yeah, when you and I were there in March at a retreat, we were teaching at a
Mhm.
retreat together, and almost all the food was, because it was a vegetarian cuisine, and it was everything that could come from your garden. It was really special.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, what are some first steps for people who don't have a beautiful farm in Maui, but people who just have a simple backyard? What are some steps that you would recommend for gardening and creating a more environmentally sustainable cycle?
Well, I in terms of growing a garden, at least where I am, it's kind of a hobby. It's not really a huge money maker or money saver. Um, but choosing to buy organic whenever possible, supporting our local farms, going to a farmer's market, asking people, are you basically organically managed or do you grow organically? Because not everybody can afford an organic to buy, well, to run an organic farm. So
Hmm.
you can always ask people, are you using pesticides or fungicides or are you not?
Yeah, so again, that's where we combine being environmentally. Your microphone is great, by the way. We can hear you just fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, that's where you're combining environmental interests and sustainability with the politics of how we spend our dollars, and really asking for
Mm-hmm.
organic food and asking, what the background is on it.
Yeah,
So
you can get around the organic certification
yeah.
by asking the right questions at the farmer's market.
So what are and again the questions would be just for people to.
Are you raising these food with the use of pesticides and herbicides? Are you using nitrates, chemical nitrates in your food?
Mhm.
Because that's a fertilizer that kind of exhausts the soil. So
Okay,
you can ask those questions.
wonderful. All
And
right.
it's really important to try to stay away from uh, non organic foods because here in the United States, Roundup is used to basically help people farm and reduce labor costs all over the United States. So if you get a glass of California wine that's not organic, you're drinking Roundup in your glass of wine. Not a lot, of course, or beer,
And
or,
so, and just for people who don't know, tell us what the problem is with Roundup.
well, Roundup is an herbicide produced by Monsanto, the corporation which is now bought by Bayer. And it's been shown by the World Health Organization to be linked to non Hodgkin's lymphoma and kidney disease. So, if you want to reduce your chances of getting these problems, again, you try to eat organic whenever you can. And I only discovered this thing about how Roundup is used in everything, not GMO foods only. There it's used a lot. But if you get a cup of coffee from, let's say, Kona coffee from Hawaii, it's got Roundup in it. California wines, beers all over the place. Any wheat, sugar, um, yeah, pretty much any vegetable. And the reason why it's done like this is when you have a row of food that you're growing between one row and another, there are weeds that grow. So if you want to save labor from weeding and you're just an ordinary corporation, you spray herbicide in between the rows of crops, whether it's coffee, whether it's peaches, whether it's almonds, whether it's corn, anything. And you reduce your labor costs, but you hurt your soil because Roundup binds with minerals in the soil and robs the plants of absorbing the minerals. And so you have food that is not mineral rich or even vitamin rich.
It's so important what you've
That's a
learned, Lori.
problem.
It's a big problem.
Yeah.
It's a big, big problem. I'm going
So
to
that's why if you want to help yourself and you want to help the country, you recognize how profoundly important it is to eat organic, even if it's somewhat more expensive. You can see it as an investment in your health, and an investment in the planet.
thank you so much. Thank you. And that's a really good explanation about Roundup and why organic is so
Sure.
important. Lori, I'm going to switch
Oh,
back
good.
to
I'm glad you
election
feel that
integ-
way.
I'm going to switch back to election integrity for a moment. And
I'd like to add something else.
oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Lori.
May I
Lori, go
add
ahead.
something else?
Yes,
So,
I was.
another
Yeah.
thing that's disturbing is that chicken, beef, and farmed fish are all fed GMO foods unless they're organic. And so if you get farm raised tilapia from Costco, for instance, they have fed it Monsanto's corn with Roundup in it. So you get tilapia with Roundup. This isn't true of Alaskan salmon, but it can be true of farm raised salmon. And then uh, if you buy regular beef that's not pasture raised or chicken, you're eating beef that has been consuming GMO foods. That's same for pork as well, and chicken very much so. So again, if you want to eat a meat product or eggs or even dairy products, you want to focus on organic foods because everything in the United States is contaminated with Roundup. And I am also teaching people what they can do to get rid of Roundup in their bodies. So that's
Well, let's
another
go.
thing.
Well, let's go there. Yeah. How do we get rid of Roundup in our bodies?
Well, there's something Roundup is a actual metal chelator. It was originally licensed as a boiler cleaner. Imagine rust on a boiler that you have to get rid of. And this is the original, uh, this is the original patent. And another patent was it was patented as an antibiotic. So I do hear an echo most of the time when I'm talking in this show. I don't know if I should be saying that.
Um,
Yeah.
well, well, you already have, so it's
Well, I
okay.
did just now,
Yeah.
but it's
The
been a
echo.
little hard sometimes to present.
Yeah. So I'm sorry that we didn't have enough of a sound time for sound check, but the echo's not coming across to the audience. I'm not
Good.
hearing it. So as long if
I'll
you can
keep
live
on
with it,
talking.
okay. So yeah, please continue because this is very important. How to get rid of the Roundup in our bodies.
So one of the things you can do is to buy on the internet, if you want, humic and fulvic acid. Now, I'm using one called The Gift. There's another one called Restore. And what this does, combined especially with something called liposomal glutathione, can begin to rid your body of Roundup and also can sometimes take out some toxic metals as well. And for my PhD, I am doing a study of people first measuring their original Roundup level, then using these strategies, and then doing a follow up test at the end. And so this may sound so strange, but frankly, most Americans don't know that they are living with Roundup in their body right here, right now. Every single American, some Europeans too, and some Asians. So
That is really really upsetting.
it is.
Um, there's a question in the audience from
Mm-hmm.
Jay Mayer. Jay asking about humane slaughtering. Is there anything you'd like to share, or should we bring Jay on to talk about the importance of humane slaughtering, or is that something you
Well,
feel
I
qualified to speak
certainly
of?
I certainly subscribe to that. If it's not humane, there's a lot of adrenaline and other kinds of chemicals that go in the animal's body. Plus, there's a kind of psychic karma, and that's very hard for me. I can't eat meat without thinking of this. And there's certain ranches, for instance, Chileno Ranch. where they just shoot one cattle at a time in a field, and there's no trip to the feedlot. But in the United States, you can't buy this beef unless it goes through a traditional slaughterhouse as opposed to a butcher. So, therefore, you have to buy shares ahead of time in a given cow or whatever so that you can eat the meat after the cow is slaughtered in this non traditional manner. So I think that that's helpful because I feel there's a kind of spiritual karma.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Mhm.
I have to admit, I'm feeling in this moment a little bit of a wave because I do eat meat, and I have not. I try and get organic as best as I possibly can, but that doesn't mean that it's humanely slaughtered. And it sounds, based on what I'm hearing you say, Lori, that it's very rare that it's humanely slaughtered.
Well,
Um,
you have to do a little research for it. You can't just buy it in a store. And these more unusual ways of slaughtering meat are available online in some places if you do the research.
I want to remind the people in our webinar room that if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box and I'll pass them on to Lori um, because obviously there's a lot. Lori, I'm going to go to another photograph that I pulled of you, and this is where you're receiving an award for your work in election integrity. So we're going to kind of swing back into that conversation. Tell us, what were they giving you an award for?
Well,
What was it that you
actually,
did?
I'm giving an award.
Oh, you're giving an
I'm
award in that
giving
picture.
I'm giving an award to Carolyn Cernich, who was the first registrar to take a very serious view at election integrity in the United States. And I was giving her an award for her outstanding work. And she was from California's very own Humboldt County.
Aha, wow.
And she supported, together with a computer programmer, something called the Trachenberg system, which was taking pictures of ballots, and then there was going to be double counting. Um, Hart Civic still counts Humboldt County's votes, and then a version of the Trachenberg system counts all the images of the votes. And there's never been any significant difference. And so other companies learned about this and decided that integrity was a good selling tool, a good marketing tool, and designed systems that take pictures of our ballots. Dominion here in our county of Marin County, and also um, ES&S, which operates outside of California, they decided to offer taking ballot images. But the only trouble is that in some places where they'd like to manipulate the vote count and not have a recount that is going to show the true vote, you destroy the ballot images. So we're very much involved through trustvote.org in saving ballot images. And if people want to donate to trustvote.org, this helps supports lawsuits in a number of swing states, actually, where the destroying of ballot images is quite common. If I can mention a few states like uh, Ohio, and it's always in the cities that that run that tend to go Democratic in the voting, and where there's people of color and low income people, and then other states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, as I said, Ohio, in the past at least, North Carolina, and we're also making changes and turning it around. So now Florida's going to have all ballot images, Arizona, and Ohio has ballot images that are can't be destroyed by law in a number of different places, but not all places. So joining the fight to save ballot images, to have the real vote of the American people, is really important.
I've pulled back up the website, and people can learn more or donate by going to trustvote2020.org. And you can all see it on the screen right now. That's trustvote2020.org. And there's a lot of information there that's sort of valuable. And thank you so much, Lori, for what you've done to create Trust Vote and support it and to educate us.
Yes, I really want us to live in a democracy and,
Uh,
to have a true vote count.
um, so Che Mayer writes, what about more choices? How can we have free elections without more choices? Um, he says, I would like to see all political parties get equal time or at least a spotlight once in a while. So I think what he's referencing is that, the Democratic and Republican parties have such a stronghold on media attention. What are your thoughts about that?
I agree. I would like to see our media pay more attention to more different voices. I mean, for example, the in the Democratic Party, there's a strong control of the corporate Democrats over the progressive. So it would be nice to have more equal time. A long
Yes,
time ago, in the late 1990s, television stations didn't have to show both points of view anymore. And that was disturbing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I agree with Jay.
Yeah, I think we all know that in 2016, the Democratic Party really shoehorned Hillary in. And unfortunately, the American people wanted a change. They didn't want any more Bushes or Clintons. And so the change became Trump. And if only Bernie Sanders had gotten the Democratic nomination, I think he would have been elected president over Trump. That's my own personal thought. Lori, I'm going to
I
go
think
back.
that's likely.
I'm going to go back to another photograph of you. Um, and now this one, I'm sure you're receiving the awards. Tell us about the awards that you received and what it is that you did.
These were the awards I received from Marin Clean Energy for helping to start Marin Clean Energy and to work against PG&E uh, crushing Marin Clean Energy even before it would be born. And I played a big role with a large loan, which I actually got back, which was wonderful. And I got the opportunity to see my money make a real difference in something I believe in. And in that case, that was, uh, you know, happening to have a greener Bay Area. And because of the use of green greener energy sources in the Bay Area, we have greatly reduced our energy consumption and the amount of CO2 that goes into the air compared to other states. And we have more than met California's state goals.
Congratulations, that's fantastic. And I
Yeah,
remember there was an election, and I think PG&E outspent you and Marin Clean Energy something like 33 to 1, if I recall correctly.
they were
And y-
trying to fight it with the Taxpayers' Right to Vote Act, and I was campaigning against that act, and as were quite a few other people, a group of activists, and PG&E even penetrated Sunrise Center's Facebook page
hmm,
to say that we liked the Taxpayers' Right to Vote Act. So then we were featured on Channel 7
hmm,
to talk about this dishonest behavior on the part of PG&E. And then also PG&E, um, you know, has behaved really badly since then. For example, with the San Bruno fires, or even taking care of wires that have helped create terrible fires. And now PG&E is in bankruptcy.
and my understanding is there's a real good chance that it's going to be taken over by the state.
Well, I think it would be a good idea because their ethics have left an enormous amount to be desired.
Well, I'm going to go back to the photo of you one more time just because I'm so proud of you for the work you've done, and you know, um, it's really incredible what a
Thank you.
community leader you've been for a long time, Lori. So thank you for your incredible support in that way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'd love to move on to another aspect of your life, which is how you take care of people. You know, you've been very, very supportive of people, and I know right now Fantuzzi is watching, our beloved brother Fantuzzi, and you've
Hmm.
helped support him to get healthy or much healthier. You and I helped raise over $30,000 for Trevor Miller,
Right.
which really extended his life. Um, and so I just want to acknowledge, and you've helped me personally, you've helped dozens of people that I know over the 35 years I've known you. So I just want to acknowledge you for all the people's lives you've impacted in a very positive
Wow.
way.
Hmm. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
I also, let me just say to that effect, what I really want to get to do is to educate people about lifestyle choices they can make to extend their lives, to live a low risk lifestyle in terms of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and to live longer, also to enhance brain fitness, extending even into the night, being 90 or 100 and or past that. And there are clear ways that we can all do this.
well,
So
let's talk.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
hoping to go into more fully. But I got very caught up with our election.
Well, definitely please help us, have an honest election in November.
Mm.
But I do appreciate your incredible wisdom about anti-aging. I remember meeting your mother, who still is extremely mentally fit, playing video games, car racing video games.
Mm.
And she beat me, which was embarrassing. Uh,
Wow.
but your commitment to strong anti-aging is really powerful. So, what are some simple steps that you recommend to any of us that are, say, over the age of 50, like over 50, over 60? What should we be doing?
Well, one of the things is to reduce your intake of carbs, especially in the form of starches and sugars, and eat more natural foods, more fruits and vegetables, a lot of vegetables. And then I already talked about the eating organic. And then other things include really getting regular exercise, not only where you actually exercise your excuse me, your heart muscle by by either walking very fast periodically, and then slowing down. It's called interval training. Or also taking omega 3 fatty acids in the form, I take it in algae oil, but some people use fish oil, and that helps our joints to be in good shape. But I also do working out with weights and practicing balance exercises. So I'm not going to be one person who falls because my proprioceptive abilities have declined with age because I'm constantly building this. So I really want to be alive and vital, ideally, at 100 with a good mind
That's fantastic. That
and
is
help
really
others
fantastic.
to be also so we can all enjoy ourselves.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. When I was going through looking at photographs of you, in preparation for this, um, I just want to acknowledge a couple of other photos that I came up with that are beautiful memories. And this is one that we showed on Saturday night. Um, and it's you at the Harmony Festival. And of course, it's
Mm.
kind of perfect because Deborah Juicy and I have been producing this Saturday Night Live show. Um, so there you are at the Harmony Festival, receiving an award for your
Yes.
incredible community work. Any memories that come to mind for you when you look at this picture or think about Harmony Festival?
I'm trying to remember exactly which year. I remember that I had already created, together with others, Marin Clean Energy, and I think I was being given an award by the Harmony Festival. I mean, I know I was. And so that was part of it. And I was encouraging people to take an active state as active step in their in supporting our environment and in supporting, I can't even remember exactly what it was at that time, but that um, I think I was being also honored possibly for the work that I did educating people about Monsanto, because I played a role together with other activists in stopping the use of Roundup in our water district and in on Mount Tam here in Marin County.
It just
A
goes to
really
show.
important thing.
It just goes to show how many things you've been doing over the years, Lori. And a whole other piece of your life that we haven't talked about that I definitely want to mention is nonviolent communication. This is a
Mm.
photo of you and I with Robert Gonzalez, a teacher. This was taken at your retreat site in Hawaii. And you're who introduced me to nonviolent communication. And
Yes.
I now make my living coaching people and taking many of those tools. And you introduced Marshall Rosenberg, Robert Gonzalez, and then yourself to hundreds, perhaps even thousands of people. So tell us a little bit about your relationship to compassion and communication.
Well, I think it's just a wonderful system developed by Marshall Rosenberg. I would call it even a spiritual path. It was a way of talking and listening to people in such a way that empathy becomes easier to have and easier to give. And so that was profoundly important in my own life. And so, yes, I wanted to introduce it to many, many people, among them you and others. And it's been profoundly transformative in my life and remains so. And it's possible to take classes in that at Sunrise Center. We're doing it right there. And then you have your own mixture with the Love Coach Academy where you use NVC and then some other things.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for introducing me to Marshall and then Robert. It's certainly changed my life.
And
And
what
I,
I just one thing, what I have done that is unusual, and I look forward to doing it again, is combining the teaching of nonviolent communication with body awareness tools that I had picked up from Gestalt therapy, Reichian therapy, breathing work, sensory awareness work, and combining that with communication. And then I find people are even stronger communicators as a result of that. So,
thank you so much for your work with bringing compassionate communication and embodied empathy to our world.
thanks.
This next picture is completely personal, but the photo is of my wedding day in Maui, and you were there with my wife Suchi, um,
Yes.
and you also hosted the very last birthday party that Suchi had before she passed
Hmm.
away. And so I just want to acknowledge when I was going through all the photos of you on Facebook, and they came across that that touched my heart
Yeah.
very much.
Oh, really? Please let it touch your heart. Yes. Oh,
uh,
wonderful. It's
you
been many
mentioned
years, Scott.
it's been 35 years since I first met you, Lori. 35
Yes.
years.
Hmm.
So here's to the next 35 years.
Yes.
You mentioned Sunrise Center, but we really haven't actually gone too much into Sunrise Center.
Hmm.
Tell me a little bit more about Sunrise Center,
Well,
and of course,
it's a
tell people.
nonprofit educational organization located in Corte Madera, California. And we run programs and classes, and we let people rent our facility. And now we're exploring setting up a studio for more online communication and education as well. So it's an opportunity for people who want to teach a class here or who want to film themselves presenting something. And Sunrise Center also leases Haleakua Garden Farm in Maui and helps other people do retreats there as well as we do some ourselves. So Sunrise Center spans the Pacific. So it's great. And I encourage people to get on the Sunrise Center mailing list. I think you just go to info@sunrisecenter.org. We are a nonprofit and sign up. So I'm hoping when I put pauses in my sentences that that seems okay. Because I'm listening with an echo all the time.
Oh, I'm sorry
So
about that.
that's, well, I hope it's not too strange.
No, you've done great, Lori. You've
Really?
done great.
All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, just a couple last things. I'm going to go
Yeah.
back to the screen and show trustvote.org one more time. And again,
Hmm.
there's two websites, but we want people to go to trustvote2020.org. So that's where people
We
can
just
learn
lost
more.
the sound.
What's that?
You should show both websites just in case,
Oh,
because
okay.
your
Well,
internet connection is unstable. All right, now it's back. I would just flash both of them because the other one is the one where we talk about all the hacking. They're
it was
both
going to,
good.
it's going to take me a moment to bring that up. Um, so tell us a little bit about the
The
difference
one you
between.
just saw is designed for the general public where we don't want to alarm people too much. The other one is more intense but gives a lot of important information.
Okay, so I'm going
And
to
they
go to.
both can and donations to either site go to the same source.
All right, so this is the one that has more detailed information. It's trustvote.org, and that's where people can learn a lot
Somehow
more.
the pictures are missing.
Well, if I pull it, if I,
So Scott, it's not showing up in fully. Oh, there. This
they're
is a
coming.
little better.
It's just taking time for it to load, Lori. Just taking time for it to load. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, we're using up a lot of bandwidth right now to present this, to present you, but there are the pictures and there's what's
So this is
happening.
a bit more um, challenging information, but information that someone who really cares about this topic would want to learn. And if
Yeah,
you
so,
scroll down a little bit, you see Kill Chain,
right.
home box office, and that is a very, very, very powerful film ab- about hacking.
And we can actually see that by
And
going
if you
to,
see,
and we can see that if we go to trustvote.org and
you
we
can
click,
actually click on it, I
and,
believe.
okay, well, that's good to know.
Yes, and I think it's still operating, and we're going to send it out to Sunrise Center too and have a discussion probably in late June
Wonderful.
about it. But it's very, very powerful.
Mm, beautiful. Well, thank you,
Not
Lori, for,
everybody's prepared for this challenging information. So we
yeah,
have two websites.
thank you for doing that. Well, one last thing we're going to show, just to let people
Mhm.
know, at 7:30 tonight, uh, let's take 20 minutes to digest everything Lori's told us. Go to trustvote.org, learn more. And then at 7:30, we're going to come back. Love Coach Academy presents Fantuzzi. And he'll be playing music and sharing some poetry and his Fantuzzi isms. It is Fan Tuesday. Every Fan Tuesday. Tuesday is when we have Fantuzzi. So looking forward to that. And Lori, I just want to say thank you again so much for your incredible commitment to our local community, to our world, to being an inspiration for us. We love you very
Yay!
much, Lori. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. And thank you, Scott. I love you.
All right, take care.